Greetings everyone and welcome to a sort of quick video, sort of offhand video where we're going to take some of the new legendary weapons that we have seen released in the game and we're going to show you some of the perks. I haven't been able to find anything that has all of this information condensed down into a single spot so that you can know what you are aiming for when you're actually going out and doing these events, or what to dismantle or what to keep. So I wanted to give you some information on some of that here and show all of the weapon stats and perks to help give you a better idea of what you should be spending your time grinding. We're not going to be touching on the exotics, as obviously the game is very, very, very new, as this is going out literally only a few hours after the release has actually, come out for us for the 30th anniversary. Let's get rolling. We're going to start with the new grenade launcher, which is called Pardon Our Dust. It is a kinetic grenade launcher in the lightweight frame, of course. Unfortunately, we haven't seen any new frames for grenade launchers. We did see a couple others for different frames for different weapon types that we'll get there. You will see something here that is a new perk to this, which is perpetual motion. This weapon gains bonus stability, handling, and reload speed while the wielder is in motion. This looks like it is going to be a very powerful PvP role. Definitely something to keep in mind. Maybe not necessarily for this grenade launcher, but for other weapons, absolutely. It can roll some very powerful combos for keeping your weapon up and ready, such as auto-loading holster, as well as demolitionist, which, as you are aware, a lot of the abilities have been turned down so that they can't come up as often, so things like demolitionist are far more effective, as well as the newly buffed adrenaline junkie. Next up is the Eyasluna. There was a lot of concern as to whether this weapon would come back as strong and as good feeling as it did back in D1, and looking at some of this here, absolutely it looks like it's going to be a fantastic weapon, especially in PvP. Bungie decided to do the big D energy and decided to put this into the Stasis slot that'll actually proc some of your Stasis perks, which is of course brilliant for certain builds. And it can also roll some of the Stasis legendary perks. It looks like you're absolutely going to be going for that perpetual motion again. We're going to need to take a closer look as time goes on as to how effective this actually is. But of course, being mobile in PvP is never a bad thing. Handling, stability, and reload speed also is a nice benefit on top of it. What's interesting to point out is that this weapon can roll both moving target and perpetual motion for a very strong run and gun build. This will be a much more powerful pick coming into these later seasons. Next up is the new shotgun, the legendary shotgun. It's in the Kinetic slot. It is also a lightweight frame called the Wastelander M5. It has some interesting perks, but nothing that is going to, I think, shake up the PvP gameplay side of things too crazy. We do see that it does roll with some handling perks, which is of course incredibly important within PvP. Things like ensemble as well as perpetual motion, and it does have opening shot, which is just an S tier option for anything you are doing within PvP. If you're looking to do this for more PvE, it can roll trench barrel or 1-2 punch, as well as dual loader, as well as subsistence. The perk rolls on this, I would definitely say, are trying to ride the line between being PvE and PvP. I don't think you're going to see this be a bad option in either regards, but I do think that there are other options that are a little bit more specific and a little bit more driven down as to whether you want to make this a PvP shotgun or a PvE shotgun. This is currently the only lightweight frame shotgun in that Kinetic slot that can roll Harmony. The other one we have is the Fractathus, which is just a different archetype altogether. But I think this weapon has, for PvP, just a little bit too much competition with the Reeswalker. Bungie has brought the battle rifle over from Halo, and it looks absolutely awesome. It has a new frame, which is the Legacy PR55 frame, which essentially is a lightweight frame in terms of its damage profile, with much higher stats overall, as well as an incredible increase to hipfire accuracy. My concern for this in PvP was that the impact is technically lower than the lightweight frame pulses, which, if you are even somewhat familiar with lightweight frame pulses in PvP, you'll know that these lightweight frame pulses have a pretty unforgiving TTK of only 0.87 seconds, which is the same as 140 hand cannons, but they required a lot more bullets to be on target because they are bursts, so 3 bursts total. But I'm happy to say that even though this does have a lower impact, it is still dealing the exact same damage, it looks like, to the head as your lightweight frames, making this just an objectively better option for PvP if you want that lightweight 450 style. It doesn't have that lightweight bonus, but it's nevertheless fantastic. It also has some really awesome rolls. The gameplay that you're seeing in the background here is a Killing Wind rangefinder roll, which means this thing is very easily outranging some of the more popular 140 hand cannons. One thing I'm personally interested in getting is the new blunt execution rounds, which damaging nearby combatants with melee causes a dramatic increase in handling and damage. This will expire after a short duration on the next shot. I would love to get to play with this. Let me know in the comments if you've been able to actually roll this blunt execution rounds and how they feel, especially in PvP. Matador 64 also returns from D1. Its overall stats puts it into the precision frame. It has some rolls on it that are unique to its archetype. It also has a new legendary perk called Golden Tricorn, which causes final blows with this weapon to grant bonus damage. And while this buff is active, grenade melee kills of the same energy type greatly increase this effect's damage and duration. It looks like it's got an interesting way to access handling, which, as we've talked about, is important for things like PvP, as it has things like threat detector as well as perpetual motion. It can roll killing wind as well as opening shot alongside those perks, harmony as well. On top of accurized rounds, definitely keep an eye out for this weapon. It will be a serious competitor overall. One of my best friend's favorite weapons from D1 has returned, the 1,000-yard stare. It is an adaptive frame sniper dealing void damage, and its rolls are arguably some of the best we will ever see for an adaptive frame sniper. Not only does this weapon have a shorter overall zoom than almost everything else we've seen in the game of 44, but it also can roll things like quick draw as well as snapshot right alongside it. It can also roll mulligan with the golden tricorn. This weapon will be insane. If you wanted to go for a run and gun related setup, you can go perpetual motion as well as moving target. If you're looking to do something with this in PvE, it can roll triple tap as well as golden tricorn. I'm sure will be a good option for overall damage. This is something I'm super excited to see. We now have a legendary trace rifle modeled after another weapon from Halo. This one has a set of perks that is super powerful. It looks like on paper. We'll have to get to play test this a bit more. First of all, I want to draw attention to this weapon having shoot to loot, which allows you to, with a special weapon, shoot special ammo bricks and reload the same weapon, as well as all of your other equipped weapons from reserves. This will mean that this weapon can stay safe and at a distance and not have to dive in after people. If they get a kill on something, say in PvP, and that person drops ammo from their shotgun, you can stay at a safe distance and pick it up and stay in the fight. It also rolls golden tricorn, which is, again, damage bonuses on top of this thing will never be bad. It can even do things like disruption break or harmony if you want to take it that specific direction. If you wanted to go for a more PvE roll, you can do one for all. You can roll the shield break combo of Genesis and disruption break. Keep your eye on this one for sure. Added to this was also 3 new legendary swords, 2 of which take after the energy sword from Halo, kind of split up into 2, as well as a new vortex frame sword. First up, as a half to that energy sword from Halo, we have the half truths. This is an adaptive frame sword, something we haven't seen in a while. It has a new perk also called the Duelist Trance, which causes sword final blows to grant increased charge rate, efficiency, and defense until this weapon is stowed, allowing you to stay in the fight and be able to get to your heavy attack a lot sooner. Could be a very powerful option. We'll have to get some specific numbers on that. It also has a new perk called Eager Edge, which grants an increase in sword lunge distance immediately after switching to this weapon. It does have Tireless Blade as one of its options if you want to keep this up and active more often. It does not roll with Whirlwind Blade, which might be okay, being that Whirlwind Blade recently got a bit of a nerf, but it can do things like Harmony or Assassin's Blade if you want to go for more damage, or even on guard. The other half to this sword from Halo is called the other half, a bit on the nose there, isn't it, Bungie? It can roll both of the new perks that we've seen from the other sword, but in a different column, as well as this one can roll Whirlwind Blade, Vorpal Weapon, and Frenzy in that second slot. And being that this overall perk pool is so small, you're gonna have a much better time getting the roll you are looking for with a lot less grinding. And lastly, the new Vortex frame sword called the Hero of Ages. This is an arc Vortex frame, which is good because it's not going to be competing with the Falling Guillotine, and it can roll some fantastic perks both for survival as well as overall damage. It can roll Unrelenting, allowing you to just slay through enemy adds with ease. It can also roll that new Duelist Trance or Tireless Blade if you would like in that first column. It can roll Chain Reaction, which allows you to even further play into the idea of just clearing out large groups of adds at once. And if you wanted to go for more damage, One for All, On Guard, or Assassin's Blade all make up fantastic options. Let me know in the comments if you have any of these new weapons and what your thoughts are on them. I know this is a bit short term, but I figured it would be helpful to everybody who is trying to look for some of these new weapons. I will leave a link in the description below for the website that I'm using in order to pull this up. Bless your faces and deuces.